listening to, you are absolutely listening to the George Espinlove Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm. Now, with no further ado, here comes Georgie!
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Oh, I appreciate your enthusiasm. You just make me feel so warm and fuzzy. To you that are down the street, around the corner, across this nation, and around the world, I welcome you to the George Espinlove Show that comes to you live from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World. We don't know where that is. We just live here, so we call it Our World. We want you to sit back, enjoy yourself, prop your feet up, don't fall asleep, prop your feet up, get you some popcorn, whatever, and enjoy the show tonight. We have a very interesting guest. Of course, all of our guests are very interesting. We have a very interesting guest from the state of New Jersey, not too far up the road from us here in lower Delaware. And he is going to give us his account of what addiction did to him, where it led, and he wrote a book entitled Blood on the Ceiling. And so we want you to sit back and listen to our guest. Before I go any further, our email address is GeorgeCE. That's GeorgeCE at Comcast.net. GeorgeCE at Comcast.net. So send us something. We get emails from people, but we want more. GeorgeCE at Comcast.net. And we'll be tickled, and I hope you'll be tickled. And Charlie will be back with us. What's today? Today is Wednesday. Charlie should be back with us Friday night. He's still up there in Pennsylvania, him and Chloe. So we wish him a good time. We hope that he comes home safe and sound. But Charlie will be back with us on Friday night show. So much for that. As Charlie always says, with no further ado, we want to welcome our guest, Nelson Trout. Nelson, welcome to the George Espinlove Show.
Hi, George. Thanks for having me on, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's our privilege. Bear with me while I chase this frog around. This frog around in my throat. If I ever get this guy, I'm really going to put a hurting on him. But
oh yeah,
yeah.
I had that back in July. I had for the first time in my life I had laryngitis back in July. It was
Yeah, I've been chasing this frog around for several months now. He comes and he goes, but we'll trudge through this thing. So you're up there in New Jersey, huh?
Yeah, I'm up here in southern New Jersey, back in the boondocks. A lot of people really don't know too much about the area where I live. It's down near the Delaware Bay area, about 20 minutes from the Delaware Bay.
Well, you're not too far away from us down here in lower Delaware.
That's true. Matter of fact, a lot of times when we go fishing in my buddy's party boat, a charter boat, we'll go over to the Delaware side, out of Fortescue, New Jersey. That doesn't take long to get to the Delaware side. You got good fishing over there, buddy.
Yeah,
chasing croakers over there.
That's what they tell me.
Oh yeah.
Nelson, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, George, as you probably know by reading my book, Blood on the Ceiling, it's about my struggles with alcohol and addiction and prescription pain medication, Xanax. I mean, I was kind of hooked on everything for a while. And I was very functional my whole life. I mean, I was married for 32 years. I raised a beautiful family, thank God. Not only did I have a real job, I also had a band, a music band. I was a songwriter, a session vocalist, a baseball coach, softball coach. So anyway, I kind of worked around my addictions like a lot of people do, you know. And finally, back in 2009, January 13th, I had an accident. And I broke my back, and I snapped all 3 vertebrae in my neck, and I damaged I split my skull open. Actually, not my skull, but my scalp. Oh, pretty big gash, like 12 stitches type deal. Anyway, after that, I was in a lot of pain, of course, from my neck and my back especially. And I was prescribed opiates. I was prescribed Percocet, Vicodin, oxycodone. I never did get to the point of OxyContin, although I have taken them in my life. And my addiction just ran away with me real bad. I started getting depressed because I wasn't very mobile at the time, and I used to be very mobile, doing things all the time. Had a garden. And, I started drinking, taking all these pills, and I just got totally addicted to the point where my wife couldn't take it anymore after several months, and she up and left. My kids were already grown up, so I was home alone all the time, just me and my dog Coco. And I call it self-medicating, George. Now, you know what that means. Mm-hmm. I was just getting up in the morning, taking a few Percocet or whatever, a couple of Xanax, making a pot of coffee, and then switching over to beer in the afternoon and just smoking pot, doing everything. I mean, it's all in the book. I don't hold anything back, and I tell the full truth. It's a lot of it's real ugly. And then one night after many, many months, I just couldn't take it anymore. I had tried to quit taking these pills and tried to cut down on all my addictions on my own several times. And let me tell you, the withdrawal was so bad. I couldn't do it on my own. So I picked up the phone one night at midnight, and I called a rehab. I won't say the name of the rehab. And admitted myself, and I went there the next morning. And for the first couple of days, it was really weird walking in there. Like, I had never dreamed that I would ever be in such a place. George, you think a lot about rehabs. It's a bunch of heroin addicts and a bunch of maybe derelicts or this and that, and it's really not. It's people from all walks of life. From the young kids who don't have anything up to the millionaires, multi-millionaires, and the people in between, just like me, And I called it, as soon as I walked in, I thought it was like the great equalizer. I mean, everybody was there for the same reason, no matter who you were, and it made you all become closer. We all had a common goal, which was to kick our addictions. And as soon as I walked in, I must tell you, because I've been a writer all my life, I knew right away that I had to write a book about what it was like being on the inside, because so many people do not know what it's like to be on the inside. And so I started taking notes and keeping like a diary of which kind of like you're supposed to. They encourage that. Mm-hmm. To some degree. A lot of times they'll encourage you to write a story or write something down that really is let's say a resentment or something like that, and then just tear it up and throw it away.
Now, I'm sorry, but
go ahead, George.
Up until your accident, was you using any drugs at all?
Yeah, at that time I was just drinking a lot of beer. and smoking some weed. Couldn't smoke too much weed because the drug testing at work, I was always afraid of getting into an accident and having to be drug tested. So I didn't smoke much weed. I did, and as a matter of fact, it did happen to me. I did have an accident at work, and I was clean and sober at the time. Thank God. I never drank during the day at work or anything. I made up for it after work. And I was a blackout drinker too. I watched a guy's house burn down at the end of my street one night and didn't remember it the next morning. And that was pretty bad. I mean, that's when I knew that I was a big time blackout drinker, and that's one of the occasions that pushed me towards actually saying, hey, reach out and get help, because you're not succeeding on your own of kicking any of this stuff. And I wanted to get completely sober for the first time in probably 30 years.
When how many times did you stand in front of the mirror or look into the mirror and say to yourself, "Self, that's it, no more, I'm done"? How many times do you think you did that?
George, I couldn't tell you how many times. But I can tell you one thing. It was many times.
Mm-hmm.
It was many, many times. Sometimes it was a daily basis. I don't know how you would know that, but that's a good question, because it got to the point where it was practically on a daily basis. And one of the reasons that I couldn't stop is because of the physical withdrawals of all these medications. And I don't blame the doctor, because, if I had taken these things as prescribed, I probably wouldn't have gotten to this trouble. But I have an addictive personality. Some people are calling it now a disease, the disease of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much I buy into that. I do a little bit, because I know that at the time when I was in my, what I call my full addiction, if somebody put something in front of me, even if I didn't want to drink it or take it or smoke it, I would do it against my own will.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was doing things against my own will, I knew that there was some sort of a problem. Now, whether it's a disease or how do you define a disease, really? I mean,
right.
It was definitely a condition that I had to find a cure for. I couldn't go on that. I probably would be dead. I would probably be dead by now.
The pain, the agony, the stress, the strain, and while the guilt, while this is all taking place.
And not only that, George, I love my wife. I still do, and it's been almost 5 years now. It'll be 5 years in May since she actually walked out, and that blew my mind big time. I was totally blindsided. And another thing, I'll step back a little bit to the first rehab I was in. I was only going to be there for 14 days or perhaps 15. They weren't sure. So on the 14th day, I was doing really good. I was tickled to death to be straight and sober. I went through 2 days of terrible withdrawal and detox. It was absolutely horrible. Hallucinations, extreme physical pain, paranoia, things like that. And because one of the hardest, if not the hardest withdrawal in the whole world, believe it or not, is a combination of benzodiazepines and alcohol, which benzos include Xanax, Valium, Klonopin, Ativan, things like that. That a lot of people are walking around with today. Many people take those medications today, and they do help, for anxiety and things of this nature. But as far as withdrawing from them, I don't advise ever to just try to stop it yourself cold turkey. Number one, you won't be able to if you have anything to take, and number two, if you don't, you could die easily.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was withdrawing, they were giving me injections, anti seizure injections every so often for a couple of days.
People don't realize. Excuse me. People don't realize that
No, they really don't. That's why I wanted to write the book. I wanted people to know a little bit about what goes on, some of the horror stories that you hear and the things that you see, the people that you get to know, the people that don't make it. But anyway, I had called my wife on the 14th day from the first rehab, and I was going to go home because family support and things of this nature are very important. And I called my wife, and she said she wasn't going to be there for me. And my therapist was sitting right there, and she told me that, Nelson, she says, I just saw on your face what happened, and I truly advise you not to go home alone. You're more likely to be dead in 6 months, and you're heartbroken. You're coming off of all these addictions. Your world has been flipped upside down, which you had been.
Uh-huh.
And so she hooked me up to go to a very, very nice rehab in South Florida, which actually saved my life. I was, as soon as that was the 14th day. Well, on the 15th day, I was on an airplane for Florida, out of Atlantic City. And when I got to that rehab down there, I continued taking my notes and I started interviewing people at that time. I was so serious about writing Blood on the Ceiling. As a matter of fact, it's so interesting. I don't know if you picked it up or not, George, but while you were reading the book, on page 10, in the second paragraph, is where the title of the book came from, Blood on the Ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
It's when... hold on, I've got it right here, as a matter of fact. Yeah. It's where one of the girls... well, here it is right here. When the clot broke through the tip of the syringe, it squirted out blood on the ceiling of her bedroom, up above and in between the ceiling fan blades. And that's when I was interviewing her, and she was telling me her story, and when I heard those lines, blood on the ceiling, I knew it was a good title for the book, and I knew the book had to be strong, and in a lot of ways, pretty gory and pretty ugly. But if somebody doesn't find the book interesting enough to read, then they're not going to get anything out of it, which my main goal is for people to read it and then help them get the courage to go to a rehab like I did, because it can literally save their life or somebody they love or something like that.
We live in a society that, on one hand, the young people, even the adults, will sit in front of a video game and shoot people or run them down with automobiles or blow them up or do whatever. And then on the other hand, when reality really comes, they tend to get squeamish and look away. So in order for people to face reality, we can't turn our back. We can't live in this world of denial, because what you went through, what countless millions of people have went through over the years, before you, now, and if the world keeps turning, there's still going to be people go through the same thing. It's real. And before we can ever fix the problem, we have to look at it for what it is. If it's ugly, it's ugly. If it's horrible, it's horrible. If it turns your stomach, then it turns your stomach. But you're looking at the real deal. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. I sure do. And, that's why this book is so... It's hard for some people to read, but by the same token, everybody that reads it can't put it down either. So I know I did my job, and I know I've got enough emails and correspondence from people who have bought the book and from radio interviews that I know that I have helped some people, and that makes me feel good. I mean, I guess that's the best thing that can happen, is if you can help somebody, because that first step, George, I got to tell you, that first step of picking up the phone that night was hard, but the real hard step was packing one little suitcase, is all they let you take, and making that first step out my side door, and the first step to the threshold of the door of that rehab. It was just like I said, like you said, almost exactly like you said. That's reality. That's not a game.
I like
and,
I like what you said when you went in. It struck you immediately that this is the equalizer. It don't matter who you are, what your name is, what your position is or was. Everyone is the same. Everyone's here with a problem. Nothing else matters. We have to solve the problem. I like that.
Exactly. Well, thanks. And another thing too about that, like I said, I call going into these places the great equalizer. And another thing that's comforting actually is that everybody there, you don't even have to talk about it. We all know why we're there.
Mm-hmm.
We do talk about it. We talk about it incessantly. People will tell you what their different addictions were, the crazy things they did, how many times they got shot. I mean, how many of their friends committed suicide. I mean, it's incredible the stories that you hear that they're all caused by addiction, and a lot of it's alcohol, really, but a lot of it is a combination of drugs and things that are out there today, and it can make you do some crazy things, and there's a ton of miracles. I saw a ton of miracles, and I saw a hell of a lot of tragedy.
I had a friend years ago, and he's crossed over now. But I remember we were at a meeting one night, and he was cross addicted, and we were at a meeting one night, and someone brought that subject up. Some of the dumb things that people do when they are addicted. This man very seldom said anything in a crowd of people. Now, if he knew you, or if he was with the guys where he was comfortable, he'd talk. But in a crowd, Frank would just be very quiet. In fact, when he spoke, I jumped. I was sitting right beside him. When he spoke, I jumped because he's the last person that you would ever think would say anything in a crowd. And he said, I'll tell you what's really stupid. He said, I was in a city. I had $500 in my pocket. I had been out drinking and doing drugs all day long. He said, I remember going into an alley. I remember falling down. It was bitter cold outside. And he said he wasn't dressed to be out in the cold, but he passed out. He said, I'll tell you what's stupid. When you find yourself laying in an alley, and they find you, and you have frostbitten toes and feet, and they take you to the hospital and they have to perform surgery to remove some of those things, and all the time you had $500 in your pocket, you could have bought the nicest, warmest room anywhere in the city. He said that is what's called stupid. He said, but on the other hand, that's what happens when a man or a woman is addicted. You no longer have control. It controls you. And
it absolutely does. And your friend who spoke, he spoke some wise words, because everything that he said is true. And I'm sorry to hear that he passed over, but I know that kind of guy who, when they don't say much, when they do, people listen.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like he made a lot of sense. He made a lot of sense to me. And I've seen similar things like that, and of course you have, and it's just a darn shame, but it does happen, George, and it's happening right this minute on many streets right now.
And it's no respecter persons, regardless
What's
of
that, George?
it's no respecter of persons.
Oh no. Oh no. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do. If there's something in your brain, I don't know if you remember the story in the book about the lawyer, about the big time lawyer down in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he couldn't get on. He couldn't even go to court without taking Roxy's, which are roxicodone, which is a hot, very, very strong painkiller opiate, and a couple drinks, and a few drinks, and then he would be that way all day long, and he got to the point where he couldn't. He was a top dog in the law firm, and got to the point where his wife and the other guys in the law firm knew that he just couldn't do his job anymore, and then he'd ride on his boat, and get all tuned in out there, fell overboard a couple times. I mean, and he's sitting there right next to a 19-year-old junkie, and guess what? They're in the same boat right now.
Uh-huh.
They're equals.
Before we go any further, Nelson, tell our listeners where they can get your book, Blood on the Ceiling.
Oh, yeah, thanks, George. Okay, well, you can go to bloodontheceiling.com, or you can just go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble, iBooks, any major internet retail bookstore, Amazon, most people are going to, and just type in "Blood on the Ceiling," and you can get it either in a Kindle form or whatever
Mm-hmm.
you use, or you can get it in the paper, nice paperback that I have right here.
And I do want to encourage people, go get this book. Go get it. If this horrible monster, this thing, be it a disease or whatever they want to call it, if it's never touched your life, thank God. But I'm sure everyone knows someone that has been touched by this horrible thing, this horrible addiction. So go get this book. Sit down. I'll guarantee you, once you sit down, you're not going to want to get up till you finish. It's an easy read, but it's a thrilling read. And I appreciate the way that you poured your soul out. I mean, you just laid yourself bare, Nelson.
Well, George, I felt that I had to. I had read a couple books on addiction, and they just weren't. They were kind of boring, and like they sugar-coated things. And as you know from reading the book, I didn't sugarcoat anything.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't sugarcoat language. I mean, I wouldn't advise this to anybody under the age of 16 to read it. Maybe somebody older than them can read it and can discuss what they want to discuss with them about it, because it's only 152 pages, and like you said, I laid it out purposely to be easy to read, to be simple, but to get the damn point across. It's and you were talking about how many people have experienced this monster, and but the thing is, even if you know somebody that is experiencing it, you don't know, because they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you how bad it is.
Uh-huh.
They're going to be in denial, like I was, at least somewhat denial. Every once in a while, they'll come forth and give a hint that, hey man, I'm really in trouble, and you should listen to that, and try to get them some help, and try to talk them into at least going to a counselor, or even to an AA meeting if it's or an NA meeting. And in the back of the book, there's a phone number, a contact number, a hotline for anybody in the country or the world to call that number, and you will have immediate help, whether you're on the verge of suicide, whether you just want to stop taking drugs or drinking, and things like that. And I thought it was pretty. I wasn't going to do it, but it was kind of brazen to do. But we found out we could do it. In the very back of the book, on page 152, there's a list of 63 people who have died that most everybody will know, and some of them will blow your mind. I looked it up. I looked these names up, and some of these people that are famous people that have died from drug addiction and drug overdoses and things like that. It was totally mind blowing to me. So I put that list in the book because I thought it was very interesting. And it just tells you that anybody can fall prey to it. It does not discriminate. I was in when I was in the rehab in Florida. We had a couple people in there, a couple guys that were household names, but both of them were athletes. And then another rehab I was in, there was an actress in there who you've probably seen a lot, several times on Law and Order. So, and then there were just normal people like me, So I decided this book had to be written, George. I just had to write it. And I interviewed just under 100 people, and 34 of the stories got in there, plus my story, which is kind of friggin' sad, huh? But
there's a tendency, a lot of times, and unless people hear it from the addicted one themselves, they have, like you said, they have no clue what it's like in the first place. Now, if I was doing drugs and drinking, and it only affected me, so be it. But it's got these huge tentacles that it reaches out, and it not only affects the one that is addicted, it affects those that are near and dear to the addicted one. No one that's ever been addicted has not affected someone. Don't you agree?
That's one of the saddest parts of it, of the whole darn thing. And you know something, when you're in your full addiction, at least with me, I was the last one to know.
Mm-hmm.
I was so oblivious to the fact that I knew I drank too much beer, and for years. But then I started. They said I had anxiety, so I was given Xanax many years ago, and I was taking that along with drinking and smoking pot, and I got to the point where I'd be falling down. I mean, just by the grace of God, I'm alive. And the people around me would almost be in tears, and I wouldn't even realize it until finally, once you hit rock bottom and you watch the wife you love of 32 years pack her suitcases and walk out to the car and leave, that's an empty sound. And that's what I knew. That
was you during this time, while you was working your normal job, was you writing songs and making music?
Oh yeah. I was a workaholic. Then I was a baseball manager for 10 years, and then I was a softball coach for 3 years. And plus my job, plus my music. I mean, I was doing everything. Maybe I was doing too much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I being such I accomplished a lot of things, and I wrote the theme song, the official theme song for my county here, Cumberland County. I've got a song I wrote for the state of New Jersey, and plus my other 5 CDs that I put out, and plus I'm a session vocalist for other songwriters that do things, that write songs and really hire somebody else to sing them for them, So they hire me. Now I haven't done that since my accident, but I used to do that all the time. Since I've had my accident, I really haven't. I've only been in the recording studio once. And that was to record a song I wrote for my 40th class reunion that I didn't even go to. I just sent the song.
When you were in rehab down in Florida, and you met and you talked to people that were in the same situation that you were. Were there those that left the rehab center early and came back? And were there those that left the rehab center and didn't come back?
Yep, there were both. There were a couple girls that they were really concerned about, and their parents had a lot of money, and every once in a while they would. And if your insurance doesn't cover it, I don't know how people can afford it. It's extremely expensive. It's thousands of dollars, a day almost.
Mm-hmm.
And they would leave and go on a binge and come back and look terrible after they had started looking good, and they would start the program all over, kind of. There were those that would get caught on. I'll give you a good example of that. Of some people that left and did not come back. If you were there for a while and you were doing well and things like that, your therapist could give you a one-day pass to go out on the street and go shopping or go to a movie or go to the beach or whatever. And a couple times, a couple guys and a couple girls timed it with their counselors, with their therapists, that they would be going out together, unbeknownst to the other therapists, because there were several therapists and several different groups, usually groups of about 8. So they came back and you could smell that they had been drinking. So they gave them a one-way ticket home right then and there. That was it. They didn't tolerate any of that kind of stuff. And there were others that left and just didn't come back. They just didn't come back, for whatever reason. A couple we found out, had passed away.
So sad.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. When you get close to people, you get terribly close to people in that situation. Like, everybody's, like we talked about before, has the same darn thing going on, and you see a lot of people crying, and then every morning, everybody that was in the program at the time, which was about 90 to 100, would have what we call a big group. And somebody every morning, a counselor would talk to us about a certain subject, and then somebody would get up and tell their story. And they were some of the most heart-wrenching things you could ever hear in your life. And as you know, some of them, quite a few of them are in the book. And I cross-checked them to make sure that they were true, and I interviewed the people.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish the book could have been 3 times as long, easy, because just of the people I interviewed. But I didn't want it to be that long. I wanted it to be something comfortable that people could pick up, and like you said, you read right through it and couldn't put it down. So,
were there people there that when it came time to leave, there was a fear of leaving?
George, let me tell you something. Over half of the people that left, and I was one of them, I didn't want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to leave the rehab. I loved it there. I felt so good there. I was only supposed to be there 30 days, and I talked them into, and they worked it out with my insurance company that I could be there 35 days. I mean, that's how bad I wanted to stay, and a lot of people were doing that. And then after that, I signed up for a 4-month program to go into a halfway house that rehab center had owned. And that you had to pay for out of your own pocket, but you sign a 4-month agreement, and then you get your initial $2,000 back if you stay 4 months, which I did, and that's where I really learned a lot of lessons. Those 4 months, that was just incredible. I got robbed. I got hooked up with some rough people because you're basically on your own. The only thing they expect you to do is to be home by a certain time, which a lot of people didn't, go by that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you would have random drug and alcohol tests, and if you failed that, you were gone. But just in those 4 months alone, I moved 6 times within the same rehab. Every time a better room became available, you had to be quick and just gather your stuff real quick, and you could move into that room. If they were better people, or it was a slightly nicer, cleaner place, whatever. And it was just a mess, you know. It was really tough, and you know, new roommates all the time. Yeah, it's something that's almost too hard to explain, and unless you went through it, you really don't know. I mean, like you said, that kind of thing is so deep. You know, and it got to the point where I didn't even care to tell people how rough it was. I would just tell everybody up home, you know, where I lived, that everything was going great and everything was fine. And I'd be laying there with a knife under my pillow.
There's, excuse me, there's a lot of people, no doubt an awful lot of people, that are addicted, and they've been to rehab, and they've been here, and they've been there, and they've been back to rehab, and then they went here, and they went there. It's a vicious cycle, and it's just like a merry-go-round, around and around and around and around. And then somewhere along the line, I always said there's only two things that can happen. Number one, you become a recovering addict, or you die. I don't think there is anything other than that. And the reason I say that, Nelson, is because when you get caught up in this vicious cycle, you're like one of those hamsters, you know, in the cage running on that wheel, and you're running and you're running and you're running and you're not going nowhere. And then all of a sudden, you reach a point where you just give up. You look around, everything that you had is gone. Everything that you ever wanted is gone. Your self-esteem is gone. You're just gone. And many folks will take their own life, will find themselves in a situation that someone takes their life. But I've always said that you'll either come out and become a recovering addict, or you'll die. What do you think? Did I make any sense with that?
Yeah, you sure did, George. You made a lot of sense. That's true. You know, you're running on like a hamster in a wheel, and you can either keep on running on that thing until you die, or you can stop and get the heck off of it and take another direction. And you know, that's for that little hamster. I'll tell you, stopping that wheel and getting off, that's a hard decision to make, but you have to do it. I mean, you know, I know if I kept on my path, I'm certain that I would have been dead probably a couple of years ago.
What is the what's the word I'm looking for?
Success rate?
What is the primary thing, for lack of a better word, but the primary thing that made you or helped you get through this thing?
Well, to tell you the truth, my faith in God, because there was a lot of times when I was alone down in a few different places. I mean, totally alone. Didn't know anybody. Everybody I loved, I let them believe that everything was my fault. And, you know, they thought I ran away from them when I left New Jersey and went to Florida. Little did they know that my wife had told me she wasn't going to be there for me. My therapist said, we got to get you to Florida or you're going to die. I let them keep on believing it was just me. So in other words, I had no, and rightfully so, because they didn't know. You even my loved ones kind of turned on me and ignored me for a couple of years. I mean, I spent 2 Christmases and 2 Thanksgivings, just me and a great buddy of mine, a black guy named Kyle Kettles, who's now a tech at the rehabs. God bless him, because he came through it. He came through it great. But we had TV turkey dinners together, just the 2 of us. Everybody else had gone to their families, and they all had passes to go for 2 or 3 days, and it was just us. And sometimes Kyle wasn't there; it was just me. So, I'm not the only one that went through that, and I had nobody to turn to. So I turned to God more than I ever did before, because I had nobody else to turn to, and that helped me. And just trying to take one step in front of the other, and force myself to take showers, and force myself to eat a little something, and
put one foot in front of the other.
That's it.
Yeah, just to keep yourself going. Tell those that's listening, and those that's going to listen later on. Tell them what that loneliness is like, Nelson. I mean, I don't know if you can describe it or not, but try.
God, the loneliness was. It was a feeling I never ever really felt before. I mean, everybody's been alone for periods of time in their life, but they always knew that there was a home to go to, or somebody to see soon, or something like this. But when you're really, really alone, it's overwhelming. It's like almost a thunderous, loud noise in your ears and in your soul and everything. And that's to me it was anyway. And I would just, I was the type that I couldn't just lay there and watch TV or something like that. I had to try to do something, or I didn't want to sleep all the time, because that's a real bad sign of depression, and it makes it worse. And I didn't want to take any antidepressant medicine anymore. They had given it to me, but I had the doctor wean me off of it. And one time I had a seizure. I had a real bad seizure in a Walmart down there. And when I went back to, I really should have been taken straight to the hospital, but luckily the person I was with, I talked him into getting me out of there as soon as possible, and don't tell anybody about it. And I felt that was from the kind of medication that they were giving me. They send you to a psychiatrist. You have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't mind seeing the psychologist, because that was talk therapy, which I liked. But the psychiatrists have a tendency, and I'm not putting them all in the same ball of wax here, but they have a tendency to write a lot of prescriptions. Psychiatrists.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like it's almost all they did. How you feeling? Well, I'm still depressed. Well, here, blah, 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 blah. And I think that all those medications are what gave me I had 2 seizures, but I had a real bad one in Walmart down in Fort Lauderdale area. And, that really got to me, and things like that. But get back to being lonely, it's a crushing, really, really bad feeling, and it's a painful feeling. And I think that's why a lot of people commit suicide, because I saw and heard of so many suicides, I couldn't believe it. Suicide's rampant.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to people that are addicted to certain things. It's just commonplace. And most of it, believe it or not, most of the suicides I heard about and knew about came from people would hang themselves, or something like that. And some people just had enough of the pain, physical pain and mental pain and anguish, where they would, overdose on their medications, things of this nature. But so, when it comes to suicide, I don't knock the people, because I know one thing: you have to be in one hell of a lot of pain to commit suicide, and really have the courage to pull it off. I mean, I know I couldn't do it, no matter how bad the pain got.
They talk about, or they don't talk about, the amount. I mean, you might hear it every now and then, or read it in an article, or hear it going across the news wires. But suicide is very real, and like you said, suicide is prevalent in this society. And I've had friends that's committed suicide. You've had friends that's committed suicide.
Yes.
Somebody, most of us, I would tend to say, knows someone or knows someone that has committed suicide. And the pain, I often sit and I think the terrible pain, not so much physical pain, although they might be going through that, but it's the inward, the deep recesses of the soul where you can't see. There is so much pain and so much hopelessness. They don't see no way out. And so
No, you're right. When you said hopelessness, that, when the time comes when you have no hope, a dear friend of mine just took his own life not long ago, and he was battling severe physical pain as well as, he was a recovered drug addict himself, and because of the severe pain, he had to take more pain medication. I think that really played on his mind. Plus the combination of the physical pain and, what a great man he was. But he decided that he had to take his own life. The pain was just too much. And when people say that's the coward's way out, there's two ways of looking at that. It's a courageous thing to do in some ways, because I couldn't do it. Personally, I mean, I wouldn't have the courage to do it, and I've been down pretty low. So it's hard to I don't like to judge people when they do certain things, because they certainly have a reason, and I think, like you said, the pain is like in your core of your entire being, and you have hopelessness and pain, physical and mental, whatever. And that does it. Like I said, George, I was totally, when I got into researching this book, I was amazed at how many suicides there was entailed in this. Amazed.
And ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you to go to is it The Blood on the Ceiling or bloodontheceiling.com?
It's just bloodontheceiling.com.
Or go to Amazon. You can get it in the digital form, the ebook, on the Kindle, or you can go to Barnes and Noble. You get a hard copy. It's there. It's there. But do yourself a favor and get this book. So Nelson,
thanks, George.
Let's
hope we helped somebody tonight. I think we did. I think we helped a few people tonight.
How is your music going now?
Well, right now I'm concentrating right now on three things actually. Promoting Blood on the Ceiling. This is the second radio interview I did in the last 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot there. There's a lot of interest in the book. Plus, I'm writing on 52,000 words into my new book, which is a psychological thriller. It's a fiction book. It's not a non-fiction book like Blood on the Ceiling is. And I've got like 6 songs done towards my next CD. I think I'm going to wind up with 12 songs on there. But that's like third on the burner right now.
If people want your music, can they get it at iTunes or other places?
CD Baby. Just go to cdbaby.com/Nelson Trout.
Mm-hmm.
Or cdbaby.com/Nelson Trout 2. The number 2.
cdbaby/Nelson Trout or cdbaby/
cdbaby. cdbaby.com/Nelson Trout.
Okay.
Or cdbaby.com/Nelson Trout 2.
Okay, good.
And a couple good CDs there. And, George, I feel good because every time I thought tonight, I really enjoyed this interview with you. I really did. I thought it was very good, and I think we helped some people, buddy.
Yeah, and not only tonight, but there'll be other people that'll go back and listen to it that didn't get to hear it tonight, and it'll go.
George, can you do me a favor?
Mm-hmm.
Can you send me a link that all I have to do is to send it to a few people that they can hear this interview?
I sure can.
To my email address?
Yes, sir. I've got it, and I will get it to you.
Well, I would really appreciate it because I archive all of these, and they go on our website, and you do a great job out there. I love your show. I love to. No wonder you're so successful. You're a great interviewer and a really great guy to talk to. I think you have an understanding of a lot of things. Let's put it that way.
People, and I liked what you said, where you said I don't judge people that do a lot of different things. How true. If we would stop being so cynical and quit pointing fingers at people, and we have no idea what is going on deep inside of them. We just don't know. We don't know if they're hurting. We don't know if they're going through some kind of physical trauma. We just don't know. And if we just learn, and I know we're a bunch of knuckleheads in this world today, but if we would just somehow learn that if we would become sensitive to someone else's needs, we could save a life. We could turn a life around. We might be that one person that reaches out and touches that person that's only hours or minutes away from going somewhere and committing suicide. We don't know. If we would look at it with that, we would do something. But we're moving faster than a speeding bullet anymore, and we run into ourselves.
We do, and George, it's like somebody might be walking by you in a store, and you might say, "Boy, that looks like a sad sack."
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't know; they might have just found out that their mother died. We don't know, and I think it fits in exactly what you were saying. If you judge, you don't know what's going on in somebody's life. Something bad might be happening,
Mm-hmm.
and to judge them without knowing, or just like we said, judging people who commit suicide. I mean, it's not for us. In my opinion, it's not for me to judge anyway.
Exactly. I'm just a microscopic speck on this planet. 1 out of 6.5 billion people. I'm nobody. I'm just floating around like everybody else. But dadgummit, there's men and women, boys and girls out there that just needs to hear a kind word. And don't you think people know if you're genuine or not?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think people pick that right up. A genuine person, I don't know. It's something you can't really explain. You just kind of feel it. And there's a lot of great people out there, but like you said, I just wish we could all be more sensitive to others because we do not know what they are going through. It could be something horrible.
Well, Nelson, my friend, thank you. Thank you so very, very much.
Well, George, let me thank you and thank your audience, and I hope to God that we help somebody. And if you do want to pick up a copy of the book, that would help. Give you a better understanding of what goes on behind the walls. It's almost truth is stranger than fiction, right, George?
Yep.
And if you'll send me that link, then I'm gonna put that link out to a lot of people because I think we had a real nice interview here, and like I said, one more time, I know we helped somebody.
And I'm going to I'll send you that link, and I'm going to send you several people's names and email addresses, and I'll contact them on the other end friends of mine that's in the broadcasting business that would no doubt love to have you come on their show. People need to hear. People just need to hear. Ladies and gentlemen, Blood on the Ceiling, written by Nelson Trout. My friend, and you are my friend. I wish you the best. May God just keep his hand on you. And I trust and pray that everything begins to blossom and bloom for you and your loved ones. Thank you, Nelson.
George, I'm speechless. That was, thank you. All I can say is thank you, and I feel the same about you. Friends for life, buddy.
You're welcome, bud. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the real deal. That's not fantasy. That's not wishful thinking. That's life. That's about as raw as life can get right then and there. Blood on the Ceiling by Nelson Trout. Go to Amazon and get the book. Barnes & Noble, Amazon. Go to the website, see if I can remember. bloodontheceiling.com/Nelson Trout. But go to Amazon. Just type in there, Blood on the Ceiling, or go to Barnes & Noble, Blood on the Ceiling. And once you sit down, I will guarantee you, now get you a cup of coffee, or be close to the coffee pot, or whatever you're drinking, but once you sit down, you're not going to want to get up. So sit down and read Nelson's book. My many, many thanks to him. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a song that Nelson has written and he sings, called Kickin' Livin'.
I'm talking small, but I'm acting big. Going from the minors up to the major leagues. No more wasted days, rainouts or delays. No more looking for ways to lose. Paid my dues. Well, there ain't no place in this world for losers. The winners of the race are the shakers and the movers. So I've got my eyes on a far horizon. Better flap these wings and fly while the wind is rising. No more wasted days, excuses or delays. No more looking for ways to lose. Kicking, living the blues. So I'm walking tall and I'm not looking back. Hey, it's my turn with the ball and I ain't gonna get sacked. No more wasted days, cop-outs or delays. No more looking for ways to lose. Paid my dues. no more wasted days.
That, my friends, excuse me. Well, there's Isaac, old Isaac. That, my friends, was Mr. Nelson Trout, who is the author of Blood on the Ceiling. Get that book. Get that book. Because listen, if you've never been addicted, someone you know, or you know someone that knows someone, has been addicted, or you know people that have went through this horrible hell, because that's what it is. Families, friends, until eventually the addicted one becomes isolated, and there's pain, and there's hurt, and there's guilt, and there's strife, and there's stress. Oh my! It's worse. It's worse than a train wreck. But get that book. Sit down and read it. Read it, and remember this: the whole time you read it, if you never heard, if you don't pay any attention to anything that was said here tonight, please listen to this. As you read that book, Blood on the Ceiling. As you read it, stop just for a moment. If you've never been addicted, just stop and thank God. That's all. Just stop and thank God while you read it. If you don't hear anything else tonight, do that. Just stop when you're reading it and thank God that you've never been addicted. You're not caught in the claws of that horrible monster. But read that book. It'd be a great Christmas gift. So read it. Blood on the Ceiling. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You get it in the Kindle. You get it with the Nook. All those things. All the book retail places. Do yourself a favor and go do that. You know something? I've said this before. My head, and I mean this, one of these nights when we put the video up of the show here in the sound room, you're going to see what I mean. I've got to go. I've got to go invest in. I've got another set, but they're getting raggedy. But I've got to go invest in another set of headphones because these that I have on, and I'm serious when I say this, my head is losing weight. It is. my head is losing weight because my headphones aren't fitting right, and sometimes I have to reach up and push them close to my ear. So I'm losing weight in my head. That's all there is to it. Go ahead and laugh, but look, when your britches start falling down, don't that mean that you've lost weight? I mean, weight around your waist? Huh? And everybody gets all happy. Say, hey, look, my britches are falling down. I'm losing weight. Yippee, yippee, yippee. Well, my head is losing weight because my headphones keep falling down. That's just the way it is. Let's go country.
Love me like you did before, and I had to reason with who you've been pleasing. Every time I close the door, and I'm trying to love you, I'm hoping you will too. Now that you're alone, you ain't gonna know. his love away. Hey, 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 on the back road home, this girl he had to go. Oh Lord, please forgive me. I know I lost control. I left him there on the side of the road. His life I take on the back road home. Girl, you made me crazy. I'm thinking that maybe you will love me again. Everything is hazy. The devil done played me, and now I've killed a man. Jealousy was raging. I wasn't shaking when I pulled the trigger slow. And you ain't gonna know it now that he's buried down below it. I left him sinking in the mud. Oh no, 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 on the back road home. Girl, he had to go. Oh Lord, please forgive me. I know I lost control. I left him there on the side of the road. His life I've taken on the back road home. technology, real firewire, megabyte machine. Six-channel system with DVD, 96-inch digital TV. Beauty and brains that'll knock off your socks. She's a 21st century fox. She's a 21st century fox.
DJ Borden, 21st Century Fox. And you know what? Espinlob did it. There's Isaac again. Espinlob did it. He did it. You know, for the last 3 or 4 shows, I have followed my note that's sticking 10 inches away from my face. Turn the mic button on. Turn the mic button on. You see, every time we go somewhere else, like to a song or to a commercial or whatever, I mute the mic. And then when, it's time to come back, I just unmute it. Is that a word, unmute it? I just hit the mute button and make it not mute. That's not right either. I can't even talk right. But anyhow, I hit the mute button, so there we got a little patch of silence again because Espinlob, this new method, this new fandangle stuff, and that's the only button I've got to hit, just one. But I've done well the last 2 or 3 nights. I didn't forget it until tonight. So, I'm going to read this to you from my friend Neil Haley out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. After I read it, I looked up and I saw that the mic was muted. But anyhow, this is what he wrote to WPXI TV in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Dear WPXI, I have been watching your program for years, but I have just one question. Why does Big Ben get all the media attention and breaking news when he gets a shoulder sprain or when he twists his ankle, like a few weeks ago? Don't get me wrong, I care about him and the rest of our sports teams, but sometimes I wonder if people blow it way out of proportion. I think that there are bigger and more important things out there in the news that could be considered breaking. For instance, a U.S. soldier from our hometown is killed, and what does he get? Just a shout-out on the 5 o'clock news. He gave his life for our freedom, gets paid far less than some sports star. And when he comes home in a casket, who will be there? But when the Steelers won the Super Bowl, everyone and their mother was downtown. What happened to having a parade for the men and women coming home from war? I think I have made my point, and I would like to see more appreciation done for our troops. My hat's off to you, buddy. My hat is off to you. Thank you for writing that. It's on Facebook. Let's share it. Let's pass it around. Let's like it. Let's comment on it. There's a whole lot of comments there because no truer words were spoken. Mr. Neil Haley, writing to WPXI TV in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Let's see if I can do this thing right.
Not come back. Well, they would tie me up and put me in a sack. just no way I'm coming back to you. No way, baby. Well, I never guessed how vengeful she could be. She ripped out my heart and threw it in the sea. Well, I'm not ashamed to say I never used it anyway. And I'm alive today, just take a look at me. Well, I'm not certain if I'll ever find the reason for the crazy things that I've been known to do. You could string me up and shoot me down for treason, but there's just no way I'm coming back to you. Sing a sad song. Billy had lost everything he earned, and he's still not sure the lesson to be learned. Well, I saw him yesterday. He was fading fast away, and he said, son, I shouldn't think that I've been burned. Well, I'm not certain if I'll ever find the reason for the crazy things that I've been known to do. Well, you could string me up and shoot me down for treason, but there's just no way I'm coming back. Just no way I'm coming back. There's just no way I'm coming back to you.
The man said there's just no way. You know what I'm saying? Or you know what he's saying? Somebody's saying something, but whatever is saying, whoever is saying it, they are, shut up, they are saying just no way I'm coming back to you. Well, I finally got that out. Hey, and I even turned the mic back on. What do you know about that? Oh man, my 1/2 brain cell, it shuts down. And when that baby works, it works good. But man, when it shuts down, it shuts down. I mean, if you're gonna do something, do it all the way, regardless of what it is. Ah, my goodness gracious, sakes alive. One more time, my many, many thanks to Nelson Trout, the author of Blood on the Ceiling. And he's a professional songwriter and musician. He has produced music for many years. But due to an addiction, things came to a screeching halt. His world was turned upside down, etc., etc., etc. And he wrote the book, Blood on the Ceiling. Go to Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble and get the book. It's an easy read, but once you sit down, you'll not want to get up because it's very, very heart-touching and it's very, very interesting.
When I wake up on a Sunday morning, church bell ringing right outside, and I feel you lying next to me with our baby in between. I know that's right. I know that's right. When I'm driving and the king is singing, burning love on a summer night, I feel like I'm still 17 and I'm always gonna be. I know that's right. Yeah. No one has to tell me I can see it, like it's written in God's hand across the sky. It's that hallelujah moment when you know it, you just know it from the bottom of my soul. I know that's right. When a beggar asks me for $1, I dig down and give him 5. And part of me starts thinking he'll buy drugs or go to drinking beer all night. Well, I don't claim to have the answers, but there's one thing I believe in life. When someone's down, you help them out. That's what it's all about. I know that's right. And no one has to tell me I can't see it, like it's written in God's hand across the sky. It's that hallelujah moment when you know it, you just know it from the bottom of my soul. I know that's right. From the universe that spins around us to that quiet little voice inside. Ain't nothing here by accident, and that's the truth, amen. I know that's right. And no one has to tell me I can see it, like it's written in God's hand across the sky. It's that hallelujah moment when you know it, you just know it from the bottom of my soul. I know that's right. It's that hallelujah moment when you know it, you just know it from the bottom of my soul. I know that's right. I know that's right. I know that's right. I know that's right.
Let's hear it, because you know that's right, huh? That's it. That's it. Yeah, when you know that's right. Hey, be sure to tune in. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night. Our guest tomorrow night will be Brian Barton, former Major League Baseball player, played for the Cardinals. In fact, he's still playing minor league ball. A very well-educated young man who has a deep concern for young people, and he's doing something about it. So tune in. This is one of those sports figures that I tip my hat to. He has a degree in aeronautical engineering. I can't hardly say the word, much less get the degree. And he has a deep, burning desire to help young people. Now, that is my kind of person. And he'll be with us tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, live right here on the Funny Farm. And then on Friday night, we'll be having another professional songwriter, musician, Coley Bryce, who is from New Jersey. That's where Nelson Trout, our guest tonight, was from. Since then, he has moved, I think, to the state of Maine, but he has written numerous songs and recorded numerous recordings. He'll be with us on Friday night, Coley Bryce. So we have had a tremendous week thus far. Email me, George C.E., that's George C.E. at Comcast.net. George C.E. at Comcast.net. And we'll answer you. We promise. We'll answer you. To those that have contacted me today and yesterday, please forgive me. I have been backed up, and I'm trying to catch up if I can get out of my own way. So if you haven't heard from me yesterday or today, you will be hearing from me tomorrow. I will get it done. I will get myself caught up. I promise. Looks like it's time to hit the trail. We're going to ride this puppy out one more time. I thank our guest, Mr. Nelson Trout, author of Blood on the Ceiling, songwriter, musician, and a wonderful person. We wish him all the best. Go to bloodontheceiling.com. bloodontheceiling.com. And there you can order the book. Go to Amazon, go to Barnes & Noble, pick up the book. It's an easy read, but it's a thrilling read at the same time. Wow. Time sure goes by when you're having fun, don't you think so? Huh? Charlie will be back with us Friday night. Chloe will be back. Maybe my mom will be with us on Friday night after Coley leaves. I don't know. You just never know what's going to happen night after night, time after time. Anything can take place around here. Now, I want you to know there's a whole lot of love coming to you from the Funny Farm. Believe it or not, we really care. We care about you. Email me, George C.E. That's George C.E. at Comcast.net. I'd like to hear from you. Wherever you're at, whatever you're going through, if it's nighttime, have a good night. If it's daytime, like tomorrow already, have a good day. But regardless, nighttime, daytime, wherever you're at, tune in tomorrow night, same time, same station, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for another show. Until then, this is George Espinlove saying good night and God bless you.